there.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. What is your name and what are you studying?
My name is Caroline Judd. I'm a theater major and I have a history minor as
Oh,
well.
I didn't know that. That's so cool. Where are you from?
I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania originally.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm from Butler. Do you know where that is?
Yes, I grew up like 20 minutes from
No
there.
way. Really?
We lived in Cabot, like Saxonburg
Okay.
area
Yeah, of course.
for
Wow.
like 10 years
Well,
before we moved to Erie.
we just
Who
discovered
knew?
something. Who knew? Well, that's super cool. So, what was it that drew you to Gordon?
Yeah, so my situation is kind of super unique
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a transfer and I transferred as a senior because I was at the King's College in New York City for the last 3 years, which closed due to financial difficulty. So, a big part of the reason I chose Gordon was just how willing they were to work with my credits because I came in with 115 credits. I was just shy of graduation when King's closed. And so I had to go through a lot of options of schools and what would give me the major closest to what I wanted and all those different factors, and there were a lot of transfer options, but Gordon was the one that kind of worked the most with me as far as credits, and that had a lot to do with like the admissions department. They were really great, and they were the only school pretty much that ended up letting me graduate on time.
That's
But
super helpful,
and
though.
Norm, of course, was great.
Yeah.
Just about like we can make this class fit for that credit, and it's like a puzzle kind of putting everything together, so he was great about
But the final pieces are falling into
that. They are
place.
falling in and I am graduating in May,
That is
so
crazy. Well, congratulations. I'm really glad that
thank
worked
you.
out for you. Were you just theater at King's as well, or did you have
King's
the?
didn't really have a theater major. I
Okay.
was called a media culture and the arts major. We just had kind of really broad majors, so I did like a lot of art history and stuff like that. I had a theater concentration.
Mm.
Again, school was in decline, didn't mean a whole lot as far as like theater program went, but I was technically kind of a theater major.
All right. Oh, wow. Well, that's so cool. You've got like such an interesting story.
It was a
It's cool
weird
to
one for
hear.
sure.
Yeah. What has been your favorite show that you've ever been a part of?
Probably it would be, oh gosh, last fall I directed a production of the Brothers Grimm Spectaculathon, which is just as fascinating as it sounds. It's like a comedy, like kind of farce comedy. Um, but we did it through our like student org at King's for theater, and since we didn't have like an official theater department, and it had been dead for a really long time, like they hadn't done anything because of COVID, so I was kind of in charge of revitalizing it, which was super hard because I had to like work with the administration and like figure out how to do, do we have storage? Can we perform somewhere? Just like all those questions. That was really difficult. So it was a really hard process, but the end product I was really excited about because it was something I had put so much into, and there were a lot of like younger students in it, like freshmen and sophomores, and it really helped like integrate them into the school, and they all just had a lot of fun doing it, and just like seeing them enjoying it was so rewarding. So that would probably be the one that I would pick.
Do you act at all?
Every once in a while, off and on in high school, but I kind of prefer the behind the scenes
Yeah.
stuff.
Is there a favorite role that you ever did?
Um, there was a musical that I did as part of our like youth theater program. It was like a musical for young kids about a pirate, and I played an old lady who wore really crazy clothes and taught him to love the clothes that he wore because you can wear whatever you want to wear. And so I had like bright pink dress and like blue shoes, and that one was kind of fun just because it was random.
I love the fun roles, the like really quirky
Yeah.
like characters. They're so
Yeah.
fun. What does your pre-show routine look like? What do you do, even as a director, to prepare yourself for a show coming up?
Usually just a lot of prayer,
Yeah.
honestly. But usually trying to stay focused on the project, so kind of blocking out like these are the times I'm going to work on it, especially in college when you have all the other homework and all the other things. So kind of making sure you have organized your time so that you have like here's when I'm going to work on it, here's when I'm going to think about it, here's when I'm going to put it aside to do other things is definitely a big part of it. drinking lots of water and, using a planner. That's usually my preferred weaponry.
Write that down. That honestly, that's like so wise. Drink water, use a planner, and delegate your time. That's great.
That's my strategy.
So what aspect of theater would you say you struggle with the most?
That's an interesting question. I think probably I tend to struggle with the onstage stuff just because I don't understand it as much. I don't have as much experience with it. It's a little confusing to me. I kind of watch the actors go out and I'm like, okay, go have fun, but I don't really understand how they do what they do. But it's enjoyable to me to make an attempt sometimes, but that's definitely not where I think I see my skills lying the most, so that's probably my biggest growing area.
So yeah, how has that been an area of growth in your life? How has that kind of evolved over time?
I mean, I started like auditioning for shows when I was 12, I think, because when you're starting out in theater, all you think about is the onstage. Like you don't even know there's anything else. It's my first show I didn't get cast in. I was heartbroken, of course, as I was 12. It was Sleeping Beauty. It was a very big deal, but it was fine. But then they asked if I wanted to work in the light booth doing like spotlights. And I kind of just fell in love with that. And I was like, I didn't even realize that this was like a thing you could do. And so since then, I've kind of gone back and forth between like on stage and exploring stuff backstage. But the on stage is really good because it kind of grows your confidence. Like it really forces you to kind of put yourself aside to be able to do that. And then there's a different, like there's collaboration in all elements, but there's kind of a different teamwork element, I think, when you're a group of people going on stage as opposed to doing backstage work. It's all collaborative, but I think a little different. So definitely like learning that collaboration and kind of working with other people in the onstage setting has been a big area of growth, and just like the confidence as kind of a quieter person to be able to go out and perform in front of people obviously takes a lot. So that's probably been the growing area.
And so you're involved in this show. What is it exactly that your role is in?
Godspell.
Godspell. That's what we're doing.
The
It's
one that we're
Godspell.
Yeah, we're calling it assistant to the director.
Okay.
Right now, I'm literally just kind of following Norm around and watching what he does. So I'm not doing a whole lot hands-on, but just kind of keeping my eyes wide open and absorbing and learning. And then when we get into production, I'm going to be running the sound stuff. So like the microphones, because I've done some stuff with microphones at other theaters. So they were like, hey, you should do it here. I was like, okay. So I'll be doing that once we get into the tech process.
That's super cool. I don't think I've ever heard of somebody doing. What was the title of it? Like apprentice. You're like apprentice to the director or whatever.
Assistant to the director.
That's really cool. I didn't know that was.
It's Norm and I kind of invented it because I was like, I want to come and like sit in on meetings, sit in on rehearsals, and just learn. Since I'm going to be graduating, is there a title that we can put on that I can just put on my resume, just as like a final show before I graduate and I'm looking for jobs? And Norm was like, sure, let's call it assistant to the director. And I was like, great. So
once again, Norm Jones, ladies and gentlemen.
Is amazing.
He is so great. Do you have a favorite story from, I know you haven't been here for a long time, but anything from Gordon Theater that stands out?
24-hour play festival stands out because it was complete chaos, and I met Gretchen Munter during that, and she had just chopped off her finger basically, and so she did the whole thing with like gauze all over her finger, and
she was okay.
Well,
she was fine.
She's fine now.
As a disclaimer, just a little mishap.
Okay, and it was unrelated to 24-hour play festival, so we were not liable for that. But that was just a really funny process, especially because it was so early on and I was like brand new here and didn't know anybody. So it was a little intimidating, but it was really fun because I got to know everybody really quickly. Yeah. So that was, and then our performance just went completely sideways and everything was wrong, and it was great.
It was a delightful performance. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Crazy.
It was crazy. Okay, this is a really fun question. What is your favorite normism? little habit or
Oh
quirk
my
that
god.
Norm has?
I love I love his fret not because he says it so particularly. He goes,
Mhm.
fret not. And it's great. I love it. And it's so comforting.
Yeah.
I'm in 2 classes with him this semester, and every time he like hands out an assignment, he's like, "Don't worry, it's gonna be okay. Fret not." I'm like, "Okay."
What is it that you're hoping to do after you graduate?
I'm looking to go into stage management. That's kind of the field I'm hoping for. I could see myself as a lot of different things, like at smaller community
Mhm.
theaters, but definitely stage management is kind of the area I'm looking at.
Is there anything, have you, like, applied to anything yet?
I have the applications are in the works.
Yeah.
I haven't found any like listed stage management jobs yet, so I have some tour guiding experience. So I've been looking at tour
Ooh,
guiding at like
yeah.
tours in places, museums, stuff like that.
Know what
So
you should do? You should do those, it's like the reenactment places where they,
yeah,
like, dress up in character. I know the acting isn't necessarily your thing,
you
but
know,
it's like
I could
tour
handle
guiding and
it.
it's
It's a little
fun.
mix.
Yeah. Okay, what is one show, movie, or book that represents you as a person?
Oh gosh. I mean, I've always had a very close connection to the Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know
Mm,
if that really represents me. I don't know if I should identify myself with that, but that's I've always had a close connection to those. So
yeah.
maybe that one.
You're like giving Elizabeth Swann in the best way. You really
See,
are.
I usually find myself giving like Johnny Depp with like the eyeliner. That's
Mm.
usually how I feel, but like,
But you've got the beauty and the radiance of Elizabeth Swann.
well, thank
She's
you.
she's glowing with the youth of what's her face? Keira Knightley? Is
Yeah,
that I always mix up Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman because they
that's
were
fair.
weren't they they were doubles for each other in Star Wars because they looked so
Were they
close.
actually?
Yeah,
Things
if
I
you
never knew.
if you look
Movie trivia.
closely. Okay, last question. What would you say to your younger self about theater?
Just like keep doing it, I guess, and keep because I never stopped, but
Mhm.
like there are times when it's you kind of get discouraged, especially in certain environments, because I did a lot of my work at one community theater and it was a little, ingrown as far as just lots of drama and things like that. So maybe spreading out, that might be
Mhm.
what I would tell myself as far as like, don't get stuck all in one place and like learn only that place, like
Mhm.
expand as much as you can and just experience different places because that gives you kind of a more diverse body of work.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for talking with
Yeah, of
me.
course. Thank
Of
you.
course.